G'day guys and welcome to BST Weekly NBA Edition Episode 4. I'm Tim Blacker and this is Joey Kane. And Joey, it's been a bit of a quiet week on the outer surface sort of NBA you would say, but we have found a lot of news.
If you get into the nitty and gritty of it, there's a lot going on and we'll touch on all of that later. Jam-packed, packed to the rafters this week on this show, so look forward to it.
Yeah, well how have you been this week, Joey?
I've been really good actually. I'm actually just recovering from my boy who's come back to the WWE and taken the title. The Rock, the Brahma Bull, he's back.
Well, of course, we're not a wrestling show, Joey, but look, I remember I was a big fan of The Rock when I was growing up as a little boy, so it's good for the fans of that sport, that entertainment business, for that to happen again.
The most electrifying man in all of entertainment is what he goes by now, so had to get that little plug in just before we get into it.
Oh, he's been fantastic, hasn't he?
Absolutely,
yes. So look, guys, just before we get into it, remember we've got 3 modes of contact, as you would say, Joey, here at BST Weekly. We've got the Twitter.
Yes, that's at bstweekly.com. No, sorry, at BST Weekly. My mistake.
We've got Facebook, which is where the .com comes in.
That's right. That's facebook.com/BST Weekly.
And finally, we've got email contact, which is, Joey?
bstweekly@gmail.com.
That's it. So, guys, any opinions, any disagreements you've got, just please don't hesitate to contact us here at BST because we strive to answer your questions and do everything we can to make the show better. So, Joey, where shall we start today?
Well, I think we're going to run through a few headlines first. We'll
Okay.
touch on a few little issues.
Yep.
Firstly, and probably most poignantly, and certainly most pivotal to Boston's season, Rajon Rondo's torn his ACL. So he's going to be out for the year. Gone for the year, 100%.
And probably a good chunk of next year.
Well,
next
you think
season
so,
as well, yeah. So, if there was ever a sign for Boston to do it, they're sitting 8th in the Eastern Conference there, below 500. If there was ever a sign to start rebuilding, I think it is now.
Well, we touched on it a few shows, well, almost the last couple of shows, Boston's woes and their record and if it's time to blow it up. And yeah, as you said, this has to be the catalyst for them to blow it up. KG still has some value, I think. Paul Pierce will go to another team. If they do it properly, they'll ship him off to different places and get a lot of young guys back to build around Rondo when he's come back healthy, I think. Because when he is healthy, as we know, he's one of the premier point guards in the league. So,
yeah, I would just downgrade for mine. Like, not downgrade. You're obviously going to downgrade with experience and that sort of thing, but I think you can still get a piece back for Garnett and Pierce, who are equally as good as their output at the minute, just a younger version, which is what they need, really. So,
like a Rudy Gay, maybe, which is on the cards.
Of course, yeah, got to be done. So a player like that would be perfect for Boston. And look, as we said multiple weeks ago, as you just raised, they've just, we've been saying it for a few weeks. They've got to blow it up. They've got to start again because at the minute, well, if they make playoffs, they're only going to be 7th seed at best, but
right.
More likely 8th.
That's right. In other news, speaking of injuries and ACLs, Derrick Rose is close to full contact practice now. So if he hasn't done it already, they've been a bit secretive in the last few days about it. So I think he may have had a few full contact practices already. So good news for the Bulls.
Well, it's exciting news, isn't it?
It is.
Really. Look, it's fantastic. Getting a player of Derrick Rose's caliber back into any side is going to be beneficial. And look, to partner him alongside the ever improving Joakim Noah, who we raised last week, look, they'll be dangerous. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. In other injury related news, Andrew Bynum, who obviously involved in the trade, hasn't been able to get on the court for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's been participating in shoot-arounds and hopes to come back before the All-Star break. So he'll be a really, really big plus to them and it really adds to the drama of that 8th spot in the East.
Yeah, well, look, I think if they were smart, they'll just wait to after All-Star break. There's no point getting him back until he's absolutely, no one's ever 100%, but, as close to it as possible. Because what's the point, really? All-Star's not that far away. Don't rush him back. Hold him back. he'll be raring to go after it. And look, it could very well see them shoot up in the playoff spots.
So you think they can salvage a season from here?
I don't think it's beyond them. I always thought they were a good side. Of course, they lost Iggy in the off season, but they're performing well under what they should be doing this year. But look, I put them easily on a par with Boston. So look, anything's really possible.
I agree with you 100% there. Chris Paul, who's missed 4 games now. Obviously, the Clippers being really cautious with his injury, and they got the record. They don't need to rush him back, and sooner than he needs to be. Concerns there?
Oh, when one of your top players goes down, I think there's always concerns. But look, I don't think it's anything too major. And Eric Bledsoe is actually doing really well in his absence. So, look, it gives him a bit more court time, a bit more confidence for when he comes on as a replacement when Paul is back. So, really, I think it's just a blessing. Really gives Paul a bit of a breather as well mid-season, just to help him recharge, even though he is recovering from an injury. But he doesn't need to be playing these games, to be honest.
No, that's right.
And they're still winning.
Just get him cherry ripe for playoffs, I think.
Yeah. Well, not winning, they're still being ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Really, without him. So, look, it's no issue.
Which is good to hear. Dirk Nowitzki has passed Allen Iverson, for 18th on the all-time scorers list during the week.
Oh, well. Look, it's a great achievement, isn't it? And I mean, he's going to be a favourite amongst Dallas fans for years, even after he goes. If not the figurehead of that organisation, or right up there at least. But look, he's a great player, and he'll continue to score points. But I think we both agree that his impact on games is slowly dropping with each year that goes by. But look, he'll still churn out good numbers for you every night.
I'm not sure that he'll ever be able to replicate his absolute heroics in the finals against the Miami Heat a couple of seasons ago, which was absolutely unbelievable. He was sick. He had his obviously finger troubles, and get on my back, I'm going to carry you, boys, is what he said, and he absolutely carried that team to the championship, and thoroughly deserved, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, they're another old side, aren't they? They're like Boston as well. They're in a very competitive Western Conference, and I think they need to do a bit of the same of what we predict Boston should be doing as well, because with their current list, they're not going to be getting anywhere near a Western final sort of thing.
I don't think so either. And just the last one to touch on here, JJ Redick has tied a career-high 31 points against Detroit the other day, and he's had a career-high 8 3-pointers. Do you think that's obviously really good for JJ to hit those type of numbers? Do you think he's at his all-time high now to sell for Orlando? Do you think they could, because they're rebuilding, do you think they could use him as a trade chip to bring in some other young guys or some other assets that they need?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Look, he's not going to... He's going to be great for Orlando if he stays there, but he's not going to get a lot of success there in terms of getting anywhere near the latter stages of playoffs and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it'd be in his best interest maybe to move up a few places in terms of teams contending. But look, that's down to Orlando. He's great off the court as well. He brings an experienced head and all that sort of thing. So maybe Orlando want to keep him around as well. So it's a bit of a win-win for mine. If they trade him, they'll get something good. If they keep him, they keep a good guy in the locker room as well and a good player.
Absolutely. He's come on leaps and bounds. No one thought he'd make it when he entered the league. So, if he can get himself to a contender, so he should, I think. And I think best for both sides to part ways on really good terms and,
Yeah, for sure.
See it off like that. But that rounds out our headlines. Now we're going to head into some issues of the week. The first one I want to talk about is a guy by the name of Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh.
Yes.
The Raptor himself. He has come out with a statement during the week that I have been flummoxed by, personally. Let me read it to you.
Okay.
From Chris Bosh. Hell yeah, of course I'm a Hall of Famer. I was a Hall of Famer 4 years ago, and I say that very seriously. I've talked about it before with my friends. Now, they are strong words from Chris Bosh. Very, very strong words indeed. What are your initial thoughts there?
Well, all the best players in the league are confident in their own abilities, and look, obviously, by that statement, Chris is very confident in his abilities as well. I don't know. For mine, he's going to have to do a little bit more to be lock in Hall of Famer, as he's pretty much put out there. But look, he's not a bad player, Joey, at all. He's when he first went to Miami. I thought personally he was getting away with a lot.
Well, he got the max, or close to a max deal with LeBron and Wade, the same sort of money as those guys.
Look, I think he was playing some poor basketball, but he was getting away with it because LeBron and Wade were, absolutely destroying it. So, look, but credit to him this year. Look, he's done a lot better, and he's putting together some good games.
Well, my initial thoughts were similar to yours, but probably a bit stronger. I thought, you're kidding yourself, mate. Really, that's what I first saw when I heard it. But let me put you through a few stats here. Bosh is an 8-time NBA All-Star. Okay, now there's only one other player in NBA history. Well, there's only one player in NBA history to make 8 All-Stars and not be in the Hall of Fame. That's a guy by the name of Larry Faust. He was a center in the 50s who averaged about 14 points a game. So 8 NBA All-Stars. I know. I was initially shocked by that as well, but. Yes. I will touch on later, he's made the All-Star reserves again this year. So,
wow.
8 NBA All-Stars for Chris Bosh, and if he wasn't to make the NBA Hall of Fame, he would be only the second player in history not to.
Well, I guess I owe Chris an apology.
Oh.
Really? Yeah. I actually had no idea the number was that high, to be honest.
Yeah, I was shocked as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't strike you as the type of dominant superstar that we're used to seeing. I don't think. I mean, obviously at Miami, he's the third guy on the team. Let's be honest. You've got LeBron, you've got Wade, and the third guy that they defer to is Bosh. And I mean, we see it in other current teams. Obviously, Harden was at the Oklahoma City as the third guy, and he got shipped out. Just didn't work out because the dynamics just didn't work. But for Bosh to make 8 All-Stars and still be viewed as the third guy is, Oh,
it's a feather in the cap, isn't it? Really. As I said, it's only been this year, really. I didn't see much of him at Toronto, to be honest. I'll be the first to admit that. But in his Miami days, anyway, this is the best he's playing by far for me.
Well, he's got the numbers. He's got a ring as well now at Miami, and he's obviously got the All-Stars we just touched on. So the thing is, he's not finished yet either. I see him making another All-Star team next year as well, and obviously Miami are right up there with a chance to get another ring. So in the next 2 or 3 years, he can end up with 2 or 3 rings and 10 All-Star appearances. So I mean, has he just had a blessed career? Do you think? I mean, I'm not sure that I see Chris Bosh as that. That's a great figure. That's great numbers. That's great stats.
Well, he's just one of those guys that's in the league at a time when it is overshadowed by blokes like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. As well, if you bring up NBA to someone, a random walking down the street, one of those 3 guys is the guys they're going to mention. So look, and it's not just Chris Bosh. A lot of other players fly under the radar. Very good players.
It's a guards league, isn't it? It really is. Like he's as you said, he's coming in a time where the league's been bereft of really dominant big guys to sort of challenge him, and he's a scoring, athletic, sort of power forward hybrid. And look at his stats, amazing. His stats. He's 19-9 on his career as an average. That's obviously 19 points, 9 boards, and that's at Toronto. He was 20 plus points, so he's above 20 points at Toronto, and he's dropped that back a little bit at Miami. But obviously, you would assume that to happen having LeBron and Wade,
your third man,
on your team. So 19-9, is that enough? I mean, I know he's confident, and he's all Hall of Fame, and some of his stats back it up. But for mine, he just doesn't compare. Like, I'll read a few names of a few recent inductees into the Hall of Fame. Reggie Miller, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. I mean,
Yeah.
does he stack up with those guys? I don't think he does.
No. No, in a word.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. But look, at the end of the day, stats can be misleading, but generally they don't lie. For mine, anyway. And he's got a pretty impressive rap sheet behind him. So, look, it's not something we'll know for a while yet, obviously, but you know, if he keeps making these All-Star appearances, then it's going to be hard to keep him out.
Do you think it would be detrimental to the team's chemistry to have Chris Bosh saying these type of things to the media? Like, he's come out to the media and said, I'm a definite Hall of Famer, lock me in, basically. I wonder what LeBron and Wade think of that. I know they're super friends. Obviously, they talked about making this super team at the Olympics, and they got it done. They're best of mates and that type of thing. But do you think it'll, disharmonise the team in any way, or are their egos big enough to? Yeah,
that's it for me, Joe. I think that it's a very arrogant but good team to start with. LeBron James has got one of the biggest egos I think I've ever seen in world sport. Headlines by the fact that on draft day he labelled himself King James before he'd even played a game.
The photo shoot and the tattoo.
Yeah. So, look, I think in their mind they all think they're Hall of Famers. So, I don't think it's any real problems to them.
Very interesting, though, isn't it? Very interesting topic. I can't believe looking at those things that Chris Bosh is an 8-time All-Star. And
crazy. But
wouldn't be surprised if he made it down the track, though. Would you?
No. Especially if they win a few more rings. I think he'll probably be a lock in there, even if he deserves it or not.
3 rings for mine. 3 rings and 10. We'll do it. We'll tip him over for me. But until that happens, keep dreaming, mate. But anyway, we move on. We move on to, which is probably a really poignant thing because he's not going to feature in this next topic, Chris Bosh. We're going to talk about the MVP race, the race to the MVP.
Yeah.
Now, for mine, Chris Bosh doesn't feature in that at all.
No.
So, anyway, Sekou Smith from the NBA Hangtime blog over there in the States.
Well respected.
Absolutely. Has got his ladder, his rankings at the moment for the race to the MVP. Let's run through them. In number 1, we'll go from number 10. Number 10 is Rondo. He's obviously injured, so you can probably count him out for now. 9, Bryant. 8, Curry. 7, Westbrook. 6, Timmy Duncan, who's had a great year. At number 5, Zach Randolph. Number 4, Chris Paul, who I thought may have been higher. Mallow at number 3, and your 2 usual suspects at 2 and 1. LeBron at number 2, Kevin Durant at number 1. What are your thoughts there?
Where do you want me to start? Really, that's...
let's go from the bottom up.
Rondo, look, good player, great player, assist king, really. I'd like to see him score more points. That's just me. But look, he's a pass-first point guard, I suppose you'd say.
Yeah.
But look, he's always going to be there. He's very important to Boston. I'm really interested to see how Avery Bradley and co can run the point down there now that he's gone. So that and Jason Terry as a point guard as well, basically now.
Yeah.
He's handling the rock a lot on offense as well. So we watch with interest in that one. But
I don't think the Celtics will be able to match his output at all. And I initially wouldn't have thought Rondo even in the conversation for the MVP. I looked at the list and I thought, Rondo, you're kidding, aren't you? But then when you think about what his loss will do to the team, he is very valuable to that team. He's so important.
Yeah, that's what people need to remember, that it's most valuable player. Now, I've always had a big opinion on this in the sense that it too often goes to the guys, if not always, the guys in the best teams. Now, there are guys, especially one guy I'm going to get to, and we're a big fan of him on this show. Actually, I'll jump to him right now. Steph Curry.
Yes.
If you tell me that he is not... Well, there's David Lee there as well, who's been outstanding, but take him out of Golden State, they are nowhere near plus 10 wins.
Well, look at him last season. Obviously, Steph's been through so many injury troubles that we can't even go into. There's so many of them. But last year, when he wasn't there, they were atrocious.
Yeah.
They were a lottery team. And
Yeah.
I mean, this year with him fit and healthy, finally, he's actually put a real body of games together. And look at them, as you said.
Oh, well, look, he's been, terrific. Yeah, and that's all you can say.
He's number 8 on the list.
Yeah, that's miles too low for mine.
For mine, top 3. Seriously.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And he's we'll touch on it later, but he's scraped into the reserves as well, which is, a bit...
Well, he hasn't actually, but we will touch on that later. No.
No.
We'll very much touch on that later.
Oh, no.
Number 9, Kobe Bryant. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, we said it last week in relation to something else, but as long as Kobe's in the league, they'll put him in the top 10 for this sort of thing, so no surprise.
Well, for mine, it's bull dust.
Yeah.
They have a terrible record. This is the most valuable player. Without him, they would have equal record. They would. It wouldn't matter one iota to the Lakers to have Kobe playing this year so far. I mean, in the past, he's an automatic Hall of Fame. He's one of the all-time greats. Don't get me wrong. But this year, without Kobe, they'd have exactly the same record. And when he has been playing, he's been playing hero ball, as we've touched on.
Oh, yeah, I've touched on that subject. In fact, it's probably in the Urban Dictionary by now, hero ball. But look, yeah, I can't actually... You may as well have someone from... who's like Phoenix. You may as well have someone from Cleveland. Well, Kyrie Irving would be a good one, but Washington. You may as well have someone from those teams in the top 10 if you're going to have Kobe, because the Lakers have been stink.
They have been
this year. They've been terrible, and that's all you can say.
Couldn't agree more. Number 7, Russell Westbrook. 8 assists, 5 boards. That's a career high in stats for him. Is that about right? You see Russell, or?
Russell's a great player, but off camera we've discussed the fact that he takes too many shots. For our liking, he takes too much ball away from Durant. I think there's just a time where he's got to just give it to the big man and let him go to work, I
couldn't agree more. And on that, Kevin Durant, it's obviously that line of thinking has been championed by a few sports commentators in America, a few high-profile ones, such as Skip Bayless and others, from ESPN. Kevin Durant has gone to Russell Westbrook's aid like you would protect a family member. He absolutely protects him completely. He tries to shield him from the media and that type of criticism. I think that's a real problem going forward. I agree with you that Russell Westbrook shouldn't be running the offense, shouldn't be taking that type of volume shots. When you got one of the all-time best scorers, he's a machine, Kevin Durant. You've got to give him the volume shots. You can't be taking more shots than Kevin Durant.
No. Well, he had a game the other day where he shot 2 from 13 or something, Westbrook. I think they may have still won the game, but, that's too many.
Oh.
And especially if you're shooting poorly. You're shooting poorly at 2 for 14. Stop taking the shots. Give it to our man and everyone's man, Durant, because he's majestic.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think at one point he was 2 from 7.
Yeah.
So the next 6 shots he missed in a row.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you have to stop pulling the trigger, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But anyway, we push on. Timmy Duncan at number 6, back to his best.
Oh, yeah, like a fine wine, Joey. And that analogy doesn't come out enough. It used to, but it doesn't come out enough. He is just getting better with age. We thought he was gone, but look, he's back now. It's just a pleasure to watch him play still.
Well, it looks like he's playing in his prime, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, he's terrific. I think Tony Parker's a good player as well, is helping him as well.
Yep.
And the Spurs are still playing some good basketball as well, on top of all of that, which helps. So, look, yeah, he's very deserving of that spot.
Higher or lower than 6, or about right?
Oh, about right.
Yep.
Yeah, about right.
Number 5, Zebo, the walking double-double.
Well, yeah, he's had a lot of injury problems last year. But look, he's come back and is playing like the player everyone knows he can be and should be. He's been absolutely outstanding this year, and his position as a reserve in the All-Star game is backed up by this in a farce that he should be in the starting lineup in front of Blake Griffin. But that's a topic for maybe later, maybe another day.
Obviously, the big guy stocks at Memphis is pretty solid, and that's really one of the strengths of Memphis' game. Zebo and Zach Randolph and Marcus Sol. Do you think Marcus Sol is at the same level as Zach, or like are they sort of interchangeable? And it's sort of like they've just thought, we've got to pick someone from Memphis. Last year, Gasol made the All-Star reserves. This year, Zach Randolph, it's his turn. Do you think it's sort of...
No.
No?
I think Zach Randolph's playing better basketball.
Yep.
And it comes down to simple as that.
Yep.
For mine.
5, that's pretty high.
Pretty high.
Deserved, you think?
Surprisingly high. I didn't think it'd be that high. But yeah, look, as it should be, every year the slate should be wiped clean. Forget what they were in the past, a la Kobe Bryant. Just forget it. You've got to look at it with an open mind, almost as if you've never watched a game of basketball in your life. And yeah, he deserves it because he's been great this year. Doesn't matter what he did last year when he was injured.
Yep.
Year before. It's this year. He's been fantastic. Well done, Zach.
My thoughts exactly. Chris Paul at number 4.
A bit low.
Bit low?
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe he should have been top 3 for mine. Yeah, look, he's been outstanding for the Clippers this year. Astronomical even, yeah. He's just been fantastic and a bit unlucky to be 4th.
Well, I think, and we've spoken about the Clippers earlier on, but I think Chris Paul is by head and shoulders above any other player on that roster. I know they've got a lot of good older guys. You've got Lamar there and who's been there and done it, but Blake Griffin as well in particular, I think he's 10 times the player Blake Griffin can ever imagine being. And I think...
Hard to compare, but yes.
Obviously completely different positions.
Yeah,
but his impact on a team and, he's got so many more facets to his game than Blake Griffin does. And I think a lot of, if not all of, the Clippers' success can be attributed to Chris Paul, and he's making his teammates better players as well, which is what you love to see, I think, in a point guard.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the whole thing about a point guard is to run the show sort of thing and create everything for your offense. And look, he's doing that fantastically, so can't question him at all.
Number 3, Carmelo. What are your thoughts there first?
Yeah, well, probably get criticised a lot for this, but I watched New York a little bit over the past month, and 2 months, and if he was not on that side, I'm sorry, but no, they wouldn't even be talked about as a threat. And I know I'll probably get criticised for that, but I think he scored 20 points in the last quarter, one of the games I watched.
Yep.
And he absolutely saved them. He was shooting like 80% in the last quarter. And in terms of MVP, most valuable player, definite top 5. I think Paul still should be ahead of him, but definite top 5. He is so important to that Knicks side.
Well, I'm glad you gave him a wrap there, because I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb, and I will be criticised for this, I know. I'm about to say it, but I wholeheartedly believe that Carmelo Anthony should be the MVP at this point in the year.
Okay.
For mine, he's the number 1. He, as you just said, obviously they got Tyson Chandler, and they got Jason Kidd, and Raymond Felton's back now, and New York's not bereft of some decent sort of players. But as you said, without Carmelo, they would be toast. And he's having a career year for mine as well. I think Carmelo in the past has just been known as that shooter, that high scorer who will just sort of float away and, okay in the clutch, but, never really taken that next step to become truly elite. And for mine this year, he's really, really, his mentality's changed. I think he's matured a hell of a lot. And I think he's taken that next step to be talked about in the same breath. And this year, I think he's been better than LeBron and Durant. So for mine, I think he's at that highest echelon now, and obviously Amari's injured there, but he's come back now. So we talk about MVP being how important you are to your team, and New York have a really solid team, but seriously, he is the key to New York.
Well, I'm glad we agreed on that because, yeah, as I said and as you said, New York would not even be discussed as a threat if he wasn't there. And yeah, they've got guys like Tyson Chandler and Jason Kidd, but they're not the players they were. Tyson Chandler's still great, don't get me wrong, but Jason Kidd, yeah, he puts out the odd great game and flashback, but really he's not what he was.
No, he's not. And Raymond Felton's not that much better.
No, well, exactly. But look, I mean, back to Carmelo because that's what it's all about. Very, very deserving. I'd still probably have him at 4, but I can still definitely see where you're coming from. So I don't have any problem at all with you putting him at 1.
That leads us into a number 2, LeBron, the serial offender at the top of these type of lists.
Yeah.
Consistent, but
King James. Look, he's a great player. I think that's all you really need to say. And he's sort of very similar to Kobe now in the sense that he'll always be in these sort of lists and all these All-Star games and everything. And it's deserved. I mean, he's a great player. Dwayne Wade has dropped off considerably this year for mine and yours. I think I'm right in saying.
Yep.
So yeah, he's still churning it out every night for Miami, and he'll continue to do that.
For mine, not an MVP year though.
No. Well, Durant's my number 1.
Who is the number 1?
Yeah.
Two?
Yeah. But yeah, LeBron, not MVP, but he still deserves top 3 for mine.
And you said Durant, you're number 1. Happy with that?
Well, I've said it a couple of times on this show, and I know we talk about Kevin Durant a lot. It's very easy to talk about Kevin Durant, but he's just amazing. Scored 50 points the other week as well. Just watching this man play is such a delight. You could seriously just re-watch some of his moves, his highlights package from this year for 24 hours straight. I reckon it is just an absolute delight.
Not a person on this earth could begrudge him having that number 1. Even though I don't have Carmelo, I can completely understand why Durant's number 1, and I think by the end of the year that's what'll happen. I think this is a snapshot in time.
I really hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. If he continues on how he is now, he's a dead set certainty.
Yeah. Well, you just can't guard him.
No, you can't.
As we did raise as well. He can put it on the floor. He can shoot over you. He's just dynamic in every sense of the word.
The only thing is, obviously, if the whole Westbrook issue rears its ugly head, but I don't think that'll happen, and I'm pretty confident he'll win it.
Oh yeah, and the last thing I don't mind about him is he's not lazy. I like him on defense as well.
Yeah, underrated.
I really love him on defense. He gets his hand on shots. He's hard to get around. Really good defender for mine, and as you said, underrated.
Well, he's long, isn't he? He's long. He can guard those guys with his length, which is important to have. But let's move on. Let's move on to our. Obviously, last week we went through the All-Stars and who was named in the All-Star starting 5s. The All-Star reserves have been announced. Let's just go back. Let's just do a bit of a recap on last week. The All-Stars that were named starters for the West, we had Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, and Dwight Howard. So 4 LA players there. And on the East, we had Rondo, who's now injured, who won't be starting, obviously.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, who just touched on, LeBron, and Kevin Garnett. So they were the starters. Let's run through the reserves. Do you want to take us through some of the reserves?
Yeah, I'll go with the West.
Let's do it.
If that's all right. Yeah, so obviously the reserves for the West, you got LaMarcus Aldridge from Portland. Another good solid year for mine. Probably not as good as he has been. What do you think?
Not for mine.
Yeah.
There's others, I think, and after we get through them, there's one in particular, but it's his second selection, and I mean, Portland's a pretty solid team.
Yeah, a little lucky for mine.
Tad lucky, but I mean, these thereabouts, so it's not unheard of.
Yeah, Timmy Duncan, who we've said...
14th.
Yeah, champion.
Unbelievable.
Absolute star. And if Chris Bosh is going to go around spruiking the fact that he's, should be a Hall of Famer and all this sort of jazz, then...
Timmy Duncan.
Well, I think 14 beats 8, but that's just my opinion. James Harden as well. He's been fantastic since he's crossed to Houston.
That's his first selection, so congratulations.
Congratulations to James. David Lee, we cried out for this last week and we got it, so I'm really thankful for that.
Well, those last two should be starting for mine. Harden and Lee should be in the starters.
Without a doubt.
Take out Griffin and probably Kobe for mine.
Yep, take out Griffin and Kobe. Very happy with that. And we'll go one back, Tim Duncan instead of Dwight Howard as well. But we called out for all these last week, and I'm glad they came to fruition. Tony Parker there, well done to him as we touched on. He was great in the Olympics. He's been great this year as well. Zebo, who we mentioned, has been fantastic, and Russell Westbrook at the bottom, who we've also spoken about as well.
For such a young guy, that's a third selection for Westbrook, so he could have 10 as well by the end of his career.
Yeah. Look, him and Durant are great, so much deserved.
Now, anyone in particular that is missed for you? Because there's someone for mine.
Well, do you want to do the honours or do you want me? Because I think we're both on the same page on where this is going.
Steph Curry.
Yep, there it is.
This is a travesty. This is one of the great injustices in sport. To not have Steph Curry in your All-Star reserves. I'd have him ahead of Aldridge. I'd have him ahead of probably Parker.
Yeah.
I'd have him ahead of Westbrook as well.
Yeah.
And contentiously, but I'd probably have him ahead of Zach Randolph. But I'd have him ahead of Kobe as well. He's starting. So, I mean, it's... we harp on this. We harp on it, Tim.
It's a sham.
It is, isn't it?
And I'm sorry, but when things like this happen, it makes a joke out of these All-Star games.
It does.
It really does. I know it's who the fans want to see and all this sort of stuff. Well, fans, broaden your horizon and have a look at this guy, Steph Curry, and tell us, write into us that he's better than Kobe on this year's performances, and we will eat a hat on show. We will.
No, I couldn't agree more. I don't understand why he isn't getting the recognition that he so thoroughly deserves. If you look, it's not like Golden State are going under the radar either.
No.
They've had they've had a dream run. And he's the catalyst for it. David Lee deserved to be in there, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But he makes David Lee a better player. It's not like David Lee's handling the rock, himself and making, obviously he's good in the post and that type of thing. But Steph Curry's the one driving that car, isn't he?
Oh. If they've got a bus load, he's the driver.
That's right.
So we've talked about Steph Curry a lot and, we talk about him every week, but he should be there.
Let me continue on with this. To add insult to injury, they've invited him to the three-point shootout.
Oh, well, thanks.
And he was in the 2010 shootout, obviously, but this is a quote from Steph. He said, "It would be a big commitment heading down there for one event, so I'm figuring out if I'm going to make that commitment or not."
Well, I hope he doesn't go.
Yeah.
I hope he just says, bugger off, I'll just hang around in Golden State and wait for my big boy David Lee to get back, and then I'll prove to everyone why I should have been in that side.
I'm in the same boat. If I was Steph Curry, I'd crack the sads and I wouldn't be going there out of, Look, we said it's the public who votes for the starters. He should be a starter, firstly. Secondly, it's not the public who picks the reserve. It's the coaches.
Yeah, well.
What are they thinking? That's the ultimate snub. And you can't invite him to the three-point shootout.
No.
That's a fairy floss. That's a kid's game. It's not...
Oh, it's mock. Yeah,
it's
who
not
cares, really?
I wouldn't go, and I hope it just ignites a real fire in his belly. I'm sure he's got it anyway, but I hope this ignites such a fire in his belly, and he tells himself then and there, this is our year. We're going to make an absolute stand in the playoffs this year. We're going to go out. We're going to beat some of these bigger teams. We're going to go and we're going to compete and hopefully, make the conference finals or something like that. Because I'd love to see it happen.
Well, there's a man... See, this back on the 3-point. shooting competition. There's a man who won it a few years ago. I always forget I might not even pronounce it right. He's that little. Is it Jason Capono?
Yes.
He was playing for the Raptors at the time. Well, where is he now? It just highlights how much of a joke this 3-point thing is. Oh, wow, I can shoot an open three. Ooh, go me.
Well, James Jones as well. I mean, he's won 3 times or something. So,
well, congratulations to James Jones.
Yeah.
I can't say I've heard of him. So, look, to invite him, as you said, is a disgrace. Steph Curry, the unluckiest man of the week.
Daylight robbery.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of that. We'll move on to the East. Obviously, we went through the starters, the reserves. Chris Bosh, who this is his 8th time, as we said. Unbelievable. Tyson Chandler with his first nod.
Deserved. Yeah, I mean, for consistent play over a stretch, I think you should get recognised at least once. Which he has now, which is good. And look, he's been good this year.
One and done for mine. A really good defensive player, but
yeah. Well, he's not the man on offense as well, which is why it strengthens Melo's case as well for the MVP, because he's carrying a big load there. But look, well done. No, Tyson deserves it. He's a good player. I like Tyson.
No, so do I. Lol Deng, his second nod.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he plays. He's got hamstring issues at the minute. They say he's due back in Chicago there, but hamstrings are a touchy thing, so you don't want to rush him back. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see if he actually does make it up for it.
He's had a pretty solid year with
Derrick
Rose. So.
Yeah, he's been great. He deserves the nod. For sure.
Yeah, interesting. And, well, wonder who they pick. We'll go into that in a little bit later. But Paul George, thank you. He's been named. It's his first appearance in the NBA All-Star game.
Credit to him. You blew up his tyres last week deservedly. I can't argue with that at all.
And probably should start for mine with Rondo out. Him or the next guy I'm going to mention, Kyrie Irving, with his first nod as well.
Start Kyrie, please.
Yep.
Yeah, please start him. He has been outstanding. He was terrific for Cleveland yesterday, or the day before, I think it was. Won them the game by himself. He is a little champion. Joakim Noah from the Bulls as well. It's 2 selections from the Bulls. Please, Kevin Garnett get injured or something. And
we don't wish that.
Well, no, but let Noah start. We called out for it last week. He has had such a better year than Kevin Garnett. And that's all I'm going to say on that. No. Because it's all that needs to be said.
That's right. And the last one, Drew Holiday with his first selection.
No.
No?
No.
Not for you?
No.
No, he hasn't had the year for mine either.
No, I'm not sure how he snuck in there, to be honest.
Nowhere near it. And I'm going to mention 2 guys now who could replace, or would have had in ahead of him.
Yeah.
And maybe even, well, certainly Garnett, but maybe even Deng as well. A couple of guys who have been snubbed. I'm going to talk about Brook Lopez and Deron Williams from the Brooklyn Nets. There's a bit of talk going around that because they were both pretty influential in getting their coach fired, and Deron Williams, this isn't the first time around for him. He's got a few coaches fired in his history in the league, notorious for it. There's a bit of talk that they've been snubbed by the coaches for that, based on that reason. What are your thoughts there?
Well, we'll never know if it's actually true or not. Of course, rumours like to circulate themselves around the NBA public, but forget putting him in the reserves, Joey. Brook Lopez, 1, should be there instead of Tyson Chandler. 2, and more importantly, should be equal on par with starting with Noah as well.
Yep.
That's just for me.
No, I agree.
But it's a bit of a joke that he's not on the side.
Well, for mine, Deron Williams is a better player. We're just going to pick on Drew Holiday here for a second. Deron Williams is a better player than Drew Holiday, and Brook Lopez has had a better year. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how they can justify picking Holiday over the
I'd love to hear their explanation.
Yeah, but do you think one of those guys will get picked to come into the team now that Rondo's coming out? Because they need to fill it up with one more spot.
Well, I can't think of anyone else off the top. Surely.
Yeah.
We'll be covering it here if they don't pick one of those 2 guys. Put it that way.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And Yeah, so that covers the All-Star reserves. Are you looking forward to it?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's just not. I'd like to see it taken a bit more seriously. A bit more defence would be nice, but I mean, yeah, what can you do? It's an entertainment game at the end of the day. Everyone goes there and wants to see the points flow, and scores of 150 to 148 aren't uncommon. So, look, we'll probably see somewhere in the realms of that again, I'd imagine. But look, it'll be good. The NBA love it. Fans love it. So it's a win-win at the end of the day.
As long as Wade doesn't break Kobe's nose again, I'll be happy. So let's put it that way. But anyway, off of that, and let's talk about something that's a bit more current. Let's have a look at the standings at this point in the year.
Miami on top, obviously. They should probably round out the year being in that spot, but New York really challenging them in the second spot there.
Well, it's all down to our man Carmelo, and we've touched on this. But yeah, I can't disagree with your Miami call up the top. New York will drop down for mine. I actually think Chicago might get them into second.
Yeah, well, without Derrick Rose, they've been sensational. They finished third. I said last week if they can push into fourth, they'll get Derrick back and they can mount a challenge into third. Could be a title year for them.
Yeah, well, they're dangerous. Yeah, I mean, they're going to face pretty stiff opposition coming out of the West, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But look, Brooklyn ever improving, and Indiana as well. God, they've gone under the radar this year.
They're up in third. Last time we had our show, but dropping off slightly. But I think they'll still remain with a pretty solid record, and I think they should probably finish up in around fourth or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta under radar as well. They've been good for a number of years now.
Yeah, look, everyone thought losing Joe Johnson was going to be a big hurt to them. But look, they've done exceptionally well this year. Lou Williams, as we mentioned, out for the years, going to lose some scoring there. But our man Kyle Korver is actually picking up the reins exceptionally well.
Yeah, he has been, and a couple of guys there who could probably maybe count themselves unlucky not to be in the conversation for All-Star in Josh Smith and Al Horford, who have had pretty good years. But we move on. Milwaukee there, just battling it out. I think they'll be stuck in that mid-table mediocrity for a while now.
Yeah. I mean, they probably can't argue with that, though, in Milwaukee. They'd be happy to see playoff basketball, at least, for mine.
Yeah, for mine too. Boston, who I think they'll drop out now. I think they'll drop out of the race, to be honest. And
look out for Philly.
Yeah, they're the ones coming through, aren't they?
Yep, they'll get there. The rest put a blanket over, really. Although Cleveland and Washington, for mine, they'll pick up a lot more wins in the last half of the year.
Yeah, Washington in particular, I think they're way too far back now. But obviously with Johnny Wall coming back, they can... I'm not going to say they're going to mount a challenge for that 8th spot.
AJ Price as well.
Yeah, AJ Price as well. But gee, they're coming on. I think they're going to improve that record significantly. I think by the end of the season. And yeah, I mean, I think you'll see Detroit, who are on a pretty good run at the moment, and Washington move right up there. And I think Toronto will probably finish up about where they are. I imagine Orlando to drop a few more games and probably head towards a lottery pick. And I think Charlotte there. They're going to be probably stuck in last place as they were last season, but they're rebuilding, so they'd be okay with that, I think, Tim.
Yes, can't disagree at all. I mean, let's jump on straight over to the Western Conference now. San Antonio up the top with OKC and the Clips. Those three guys streaking, well, not streaking emphatically, but they're starting to create a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, they are, and deserve it. San Antonio is the best team in the NBA at the moment, I think.
Just look at their home record there, 20-2, and they've won 8 in a row, 9-1 in their last 10.
Yeah,
impressive,
rock solid, aren't they?
Yeah,
as per usual. They're such a great organisation with Pop there, and yeah, can't fault them.
Not at all. Memphis in 4th. Again, we talked about them, and we may as well bring Golden State into this as well. Two sides that are just really equal across the board, and you would seriously want to avoid them in playoffs, although as it would stand at the minute they'd play each other. But which would be one hell of a series.
Oh, wouldn't it ever? I actually hope Golden State can push the Clippers out there. I'm on Golden State now after this Steph Curry snub. It's put me over the edge.
Yeah.
I'd really love to see them push up into about third so they can get somewhat of an easier home series against a Denver or a Utah, that type of team. But yeah, look, really, really, really deep and interesting in the West. That Memphis Golden State, wow, as you said, that'll be sensational if it occurs. But we move down. Denver and Utah, as just touched on, making up the numbers.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think anyone under Golden State there can really compete for a spot in the Western Final and beyond. But look, I mean, credit to Denver. Look at their record there, 27-18. They've been fantastic this year.
Well, a real solid side, and they'd be pretty happy with that at this point.
17-3 at home is a big reason.
Wow, they're so much better at home, aren't they?
Yeah.
Than on the road, but as you should be, I suppose. Portland and Houston.
Yeah, look, Portland are having a pretty tough time of it at the minute, and Houston. They're both 3-7 in their last 10. Struggling to put a few games together, but look, I mean, I like Houston a bit more than Portland.
So do I. The Lakers struggling as per usual, but we've been over them multiple times.
Yeah.
Dallas probably heading for a lottery pick, you'd assume.
Oh, look, Dallas will be about there. Yeah, they'll win a few games, but no threat, I suppose you'd say.
Yeah, and no changes down the bottom there. Phoenix, New Orleans, and Sacramento, but the Minnesota Timberwolves have dropped off a tad, haven't they?
Dropped off a tad. Of course, they've had Peck and fed a further 2 out this last week, which is just continuing to load their injury list. And look, they're having a pretty tough time of it.
Minnesota there. It's, some of these teams now are just, going to probably drop off the face of the earth to an extent, aren't they? It's about that time of year where if your run hasn't come into fruition, you're probably going to look towards, shoring yourself up one of those lottery picks.
Yeah, well, it's very similar to the debates which arise about tanking in other sports and that kind of thing. But look, they're really, in basketball especially, there's really no point. If guys are hurt, put them away, send them off to get fixed up, much like the Warriors did with Golden State last year, and just make sure they're ready for next year.
That's right. All right, let's move on to, there's been a bit of controversy during the week, Timothy. Last week, as you may remember, the segment Put a Fork in It, we had the Steamboat himself, Greg Steamsma.
Yes.
Now, we've had more than a number of private messages on Facebook and Twitter demanding our heads, really. I had no idea that there was that many Greg Steamsma fans out there, Timothy.
The Steamer, I'm not sure where this fanfare is coming from. I'd love to say it's spam, but it's not.
No.
There are legitimate fans out there.
But I'm not going to... this is a show for the people, and we love the fans, and we love your feedback, and we take it into consideration. We want to get your voice heard. However, I'm not backing down on this one.
No, neither am I, Joey, to be honest.
The Steamer is a piling steam at the moment. Let's just put it that way. And he was thoroughly deserving of our royal toast. And having said that,
No.
the royal toast.
He
of
would
course
never
not.
get anywhere near our toast, Joey.
The fork.
Yes.
I got the utensils and the food mixed up. But yes, no. Given that, we're going to have a week off.
Okay.
We're going to have a week off from the Put a Fork in It segment because of the backlash that we received over Greg Steamsma. So I'd love to apologise to the Greg Steamsma fans, but I'm not going to because I think he deserves it. So we'll leave it there.
I'm not sure. Have you seen any Minnesota games over the last 2 weeks?
I've seen a bit, yeah.
You got a bloke out of the D-League there while Peck's out. Chris Johnson. If they do not hang on to this guy after his contract must be due to surely run out. I think it was
on a 10-day or
10-day. Yeah. If he does not get that renewed, he can count himself incredibly unlucky. Should be the backup to Peck when Peck returns. I think he's returning this week. Minnesota fans, rejoice on that one. But he's been fantastic. He scores some points. He gives plenty of hustle on the defense and offense, and he's just more agile and he's got more ticker. It's a big thing to say. he just wants it more than Greg Steamson.
Fair to say that he's the best backup centre that Minnesota have on their roster, don't you think?
Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. If he doesn't get signed to a deal for the rest of the season, whatever, I think Minnesota fans would be very disappointed because at least he offers something on offense, which isn't exactly what Greg Steamsman does. Now, we've given him the fork and somehow he's gone 4 from 4 shooting to open up a game against the Bobcats the other day.
Well, it's a slight increase on his 2.9 points per game career average.
Yeah, so look, please, if you're Minnesota, please sign Chris Johnson because he's a much better option than Greg Steamson. But we move on.
We do, and to one of my favourite segments, Caney's Royal Toast. This week on Caney's Royal Toast, you can probably guess it if you've been watching the show. We've given him a bit of a rap earlier.
No, it's not Steph Curry.
It's not Steph Curry. Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Australian-born Kyrie Irving. Look, during the week, he scored 24 of his 35 points in the second half to defeat the Bucks, and that included a buzzer beater, which was sensational. And we thought that he couldn't top that. But then he's come out and he said an absolutely unreal attitude 3 to beat Toronto by 1 point with the buzzer beater as well, with I think 0.7 seconds left on the clock, which we'll see. But he is Mr. Clutch.
Well, yeah, it's everything Cleveland could have hoped for when they picked him up at number 1. He has just blossomed into this perfect little rose, and he's a fantastic player, and scary thing is will only get better.
He will only get better. He's just got his first nod in the All-Star Reserves game, and, you know, if he gets the team around him, he could be one of these Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, you know, highest echelon type of guys. He can move into that territory, I feel. I think he's got the tools.
He can score. Well, that's all he really needs to be worrying about. That's the main thing. He can score. He can assist. He can do it all, this boy.
Well, he's averaging 24 points a game. 5.5 assists.
Great numbers.
3.5 rebounds for a point guard. That's a pretty crazy number.
Yeah.
And 1.7 steals. He is an absolute superstar.
Yeah. I cannot disagree with anything you've said there. He's fantastic. And look, Cleveland, as I said, will be very happy. And look, if you look at the draft from that year, Derek Williams was taken at number 2 in that draft, and of course by the Timberwolves. He was very seriously being considered as number 1 Derek Williams by Cleveland. And I know he doesn't get the minutes he probably should to show us how good he is, Derek Williams, but the gap between number 1 and 2 there, you could drive multiple Mack trucks through.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. It's a really great analogy.
Yeah.
And if Kyrie Irving's not your favourite player to watch, one of your favourite players, get your head checked, get your eyes checked, because he would have to be, wouldn't he? He's one of those guys you just love watching him play.
Well, he's up there with watching guys like Durant play. Every time he gets the ball, you know something's going to happen. And he's just a special player and much deserving of your royal toast.
That's a nice little segue into...
But just, I'm going to jump in quickly.
Yes.
Just quickly on Cleveland, because we haven't really spoken a lot about them. How do you said with the team around them, do you think they trade out Anderson Varejao or they keep him?
Well, at the moment, his trade value is obviously at an all-time low. Yeah. He's obviously out injured.
Yeah, of
for
course
the rest
he's
of the
injured,
year.
But in the off-season, do they trade him?
Well, look, what is he? He's 27, 28?
I think he could actually be 30.
30, all right, there you go. So, I mean, he's probably only got a few decent years left in him. I thought Dion Waiters would be a really nice piece to complement Kyrie Irving, but it hasn't eventuated. Whether, you know, Dion can potentially become the player that we thought he may be over time is yet to be seen. But I don't think they've got the foundation there at the moment. I think Waiters is certainly a keeper, although if you can get the right deal for him, I'd look at moving him. Varejao, well, they'd stink without him as well, wouldn't they? They'd be even worse. So, I mean, whether they load up this year and try and get another lottery pick. I don't know, but I think they need to get a couple of older, experienced guys, and I say this because I think this is probably the best way to build a team.
Yeah.
You've got your franchise player in Kyrie Irving. He'll be there for 10, 12, 13, 15 years as the face of your franchise. So that part's sorted. What you need now is two things, I think, a mix of two things. Promising young guys who, on the cheap, so that means you really need really good scouting network. But I think you need, as well as that, some of the older veterans who have been there and done that, have the right attitude and can create a really good culture there as well.
Yeah.
And I talk about guys like, a big Baby Davis or someone like that. I keep going back to him because he's the archetypal guy that I would have. I know that he's not the best player, but the leadership and culture that he would bring to a team like that. And I think Orlando would be willing to move him. That's why I mentioned him. So, if they could bring in some older heads on the cheap and some young guys on the cheap, that means they have cap room to sign the final pieces when the time comes down the track. But I don't think I think they're sort of on the right track. Varejao fits that mould. Dion Waiters fits that mould. But it's not, they haven't got enough of those type of guys.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see which way they go. Just an interesting one here to follow. It won't go away. Of course, Nikola Pekovic is out of contract with the Timberwolves at the end of this season. Now, it's been widely talked about that he'll get a big offer sheet thrown at him, something which the Timberwolves probably won't be able to match. There has been talk, you never know really how substantial it is, but there has been talk that the Timberwolves are accepting the fact that they're not going to be able to match whatever offer is thrown at Peck, so they'll lose him without getting anything back. There is talk that they've been prepared to trade him, and before Varejao got injured, or the seriousness of the injury was known, that was a talked about trade. Could you see that potentially happening? Or
how old's Peck?
Peck's 28, 29, so there's not a big change there in age.
I don't like that trade.
Yeah. For who?
Well, I don't like it for Cleveland. I think Minnesota, apples for apples, really. But I think Cleveland would be wasting cap space giving... they've got the similar type of player as Varejao.
Well, Minnesota are going to offer him a good deal.
Yeah.
I think
the offer sheet's going to have to be...
The offer sheet's going to have to be pretty high.
Yeah.
To prize him away without Minnesota being able to match it. So, yeah, I mean that's just one that's been talked about. But yeah, I like your summing up of that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last segment.
Yeah.
Pop of the night, pop of the week. I haven't decided yet. We'll leave that one up to the fans. I like pop of the night, but it's a weekly show. Who knows? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let's have a look at some of the action from this week. Here we have the half-court shot here. His name is Michael Drish. He's 50 years old. He's a computer tech guy. But have a look at LeBron James here. All over him. He's won $75,000, that man right there.
Wow. This is where the Miami Heat are really saying, oh, yay. But then under their breath, they're saying, shit. Because now they're going to have to pay him money.
How's the technique?
Not the best technique.
But LeBron loves it. Look at him go.
Oh, well, look. I've been a big, what would you say, hater of LeBron's arrogance, I suppose you say. But look, that's great. For once, I'm actually proud of the man for really embracing a supporter and stuff like that. Like that supporter, what was his name, sorry?
Michael Drish.
Drish, yeah. He'll never forget that moment.
No.
It's one he'll tell everyone, hey, LeBron, hug me. And no, it's fantastic and good on him. It's great to see American sports doing that kind of thing at halftime. Good crowd entertainment, and look, it's great, yeah.
$75,000, not the worst prize in the world either. But
no.
But really good to see LeBron being personable for once, and obviously the decision, that type of thing, it almost made him not subhuman, not a machine, but he's not very personable. But that type of thing, you love to see that, and that's what the LeBron fans especially would really take to heart and love seeing that type of thing. But
oh yeah, sorry, was it a swish or did it have backboard?
No, it was straight in.
Straight in.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. Miami, the the boys around the top table there will be feeling very unlucky. They're going to have to cough up 75,000. But look, as we said, that's fantastic. But look, Joey, in terms of NBA, that brings us to the end of the road for this week, for week 4.
That's a wrap again, sadly to say. It's been a pleasure as per usual, Tim.
Oh, look, mate, it's been fantastic. Next week, guarantee we'll have the show packed to the brim with more news and opinions and everything. And look, we can't wait to do it. But look, from me, Tim Blacker, and Joey Kane here, it's been our pleasure to talk with you guys. And thank you for watching. And Joey,
don't forget BST Weekly.